Everyone doing the project Mbappe, please stop it. Encourage your kids to play the sport, but don't push them to, become robots.
You welcome to Sports TV. My name is Sasepi, and I have my friends here. I've got Handy and another person who I cannot identify because he's not part of us. Are you? Identify yourself. Who are you?
Identify yourself. You know your face, shoe.
I mean, just because I am not on the regular stuff, it doesn't mean I'm not part of the guys. Whether we talk about you know what we're talking about now, Mr. Fair Play. So that's the best introduction I can give to you. Let's go, guys.
All right, fair play to you, Eva, with your Jack Sparrow hat you've got on.
I knew
Okay,
you were going
guys.
to come for me for this.
Exactly. You know me. I
It's
always
fine.
come. I always come with the punchlines. Welcome once again, and this is Soft Sports
Yeah.
TV and the Soft Sport Podcast. Another episode where we get to talk about some interesting matters in sport. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please make sure you do so. Hit that subscription button, subscribe, join the family, follow us on all our platforms. You like, you share, and you comment. Let's go. Today we're talking about something interesting. It's a question that will lead to a conversation, apparently. But this is the question. Why do you think it's important for kids to play sport?
Yeah, I think that's the right way to put it. And I think it's actually very important, that you let your kids play sports because that is one of the fastest ways you can build discipline in a kid. You can build teamwork, you can build endurance. Then you also expose them to real life scenarios where you actually fail. Because one of the things that you cannot avoid when you play sports is failure, how you react when you fail. Do you understand? So those are the things that, especially character, sports build character in children, in kids. It teaches them to accept the things that are normality in life, like failure, waking, getting back up, being victorious, celebrating your wins, but also trying to defend your victory immediately after winning, knowing that that's not where it ends. Just knowing that immediately after you win, now everyone is coming at you. So you have to be even in a better shape than you were before. So I think one of the best ways to encourage your kids to be disciplined, to have to build up a strong character and, to understand just the things that happen in life is actually being engaged in sports activities.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that angle. Of course, it's so important. It builds you mentally. Yeah, I'll pick a few things from what you said, but Mr. Fairplay, let me hear from you too. Is it important? And if it is, why is it important?
Of course, it's very important. Like Andy said, it does a lot to the child. Builds the child's mentality. It gives you that ability to go all out to compete. So that aspect of your life grows. When you lose, gives you the opportunity to understand that it's not necessarily failure, but that some days it doesn't go your way. And then when you work harder, you can find a result. So it does a lot. And one other very important thing it does to the child is it takes children away from social vices. I mean, when children don't have sports activities around them. They have so much time for themselves. Most times you see them, friends and other issues that the society does not want to see, but when there is sport, there's always the opportunity, something to keep you busy, keep you entertained, keep you happy. So it takes you away from some of those things. So sports generally, I think, what about fitness? It helps you, to keep fit. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to spend the whole day in the gym, but by just participating in sporting activities in itself builds your fitness. So it does a lot to the mental health of the child. And yes, it is very, very important. We will always encourage parents, to encourage their children to participate in sports as well.
And Mr. Fairplay, you mentioned mental health. What is mental health? It's just basically how you feel mentally, your mental well-being, and a lot of issues
Yeah.
can happen Different things can make you have poor mental health or make you have a good mental health. But how do you develop a strong mental health? I believe sports plays a key role. I'll use myself as an example. So I told you about how I was involved in the relay race back then, right? And I was the last person to receive the baton, and we're not doing very well, but I tried my best. I pushed, and we came third place, right? So I was pretty fast, not the fastest, but I was pretty fast. So it got to a stage where my body changed. I wasn't the biggest back then, but I'm like 6'4". So my body changed. I became so long like Per Mertesacker. And I didn't really realize that I grew so fast and my body changed. So I got to the university and we had our sports week. Then I was like, relay? Oh yeah, count me in. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna run. And this time I was running, bro. I thought in my head, I thought I was running as fast as Usain Bolt. But you know what I was hearing? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
move,
Run!
move.
What are you doing? Run, run. I was like, bro, I'm running. I'm dashing right now, man. What do you mean run, run? I'm running. You want me to, turn into Flash or something? But I didn't know there was a change in maybe my body, or maybe because I stopped running. But I was slower. I wasn't as fast as I was before. And yeah, you know the story. No third position, like third from the back, if you understand what I mean. I failed, but I felt very bad. I felt very bad. I was like, okay, what's happening? I'm not gonna run anymore. That's it. I'm never running anymore. And if I had dwelled on that, that would put me in a very, very bad state mentally. And you want to know what made it even worse? There was a football competition in that same sports week. I played center back. You want to know the scoreline? 7-1. We didn't win, we lost 7-1. The only thing I can remember was our goalkeeper picking the ball from the back of the net every time. It was so bad. There was a striker who scored with his back on that day. Like, it was a
uh,
total annihilation. Those guys really, really destroyed us that day. But it's moments like that that builds you. Serious setbacks, severe setbacks, and you get that when you put yourself out there. Because if I didn't engage in that activity, I wouldn't have had that heartbreak or that setback. If I just sat, oh, let me just watch and cheer them, yay, they lose, okay, and I will join the winning team. But because I was involved, there's no place for you to hide. You can't beg your
yeah.
coach to sub you off, or maybe you fake an
Hmm.
injury, but you have to be there. And it's bad moments like this where they tell you, okay, it's not about losses. You look at it like lessons, and you need to be in sports. You need to be active to be able to get moments like this. So for me, I'm using myself as an example. It helps me, and it helped me mentally. So being involved in sports actually helps you, develop a strong mental strength. And that's it for me. And I'm sure we've got. I would like, in short, I would like to know your own
I'll
experience.
add this. Yeah,
Yeah, tell
like
me.
I even wanted to just add this even before I say my own experience, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to add this that I was just watching a video of Seth Fabregas talking about the advice he has for young players that are coming up. He said, I would advise you to spend your money on chefs, your home chefs, and also on a mental coach. Because by the time you start playing the game and you've probably won once or twice, you start asking yourself that what's the need of me going further? Do you understand? Like you start there's this challenge that it comes with you trying to, go over to the next step. But that's why he said he advises young players to invest majorly. He said you don't necessarily need to be a big player. You don't necessarily need to play in a big team. But
Hmm.
as a young player starting your career, invest heavily in a mental coach.
Hmm.
That's to say, your mentality plays a huge role, when it comes to the sport or the game. Do you understand?
Hmm.
So my own personal experience when it comes to having a strong mentality is the fact, like I would even take it way, way back, when I was younger. I think I was in like primary five, and I competed against my brother in the Interhouse Sport in the heat. And he won the race, he came first. And I think I came third or so. I went home and I cried that day. But he didn't know, because in my mind, I'm like, I think I'm faster than him. And I started working on myself before the main inter-house sport, which was in like 3 days' time. And lo and behold, on the day of the inter-house sport, I came first. And that's because I already had the setback that affected me and I cried and nobody saw that happening, right? But I went out there and I was like, I'm going to make sure I'll put in my best foot forward. And it paid off, you know. And I won't lie to you, growing up being a goalkeeper, I've not always been one of the tallest, right? I've always been a goalkeeper that when you look at me, you'll be like, why is this guy, staying on the goalpost? But when you see my reflexes, they are that of Iker Casillas, and you'll be like, hold up, wait a minute, and I feel that also happened on the long run as a result of knowing that I wasn't the tallest, but I understood that when you have good reflexes as a goalkeeper and you're able to pick yourself back up immediately, that grew my mental strength. And I was always out there pushing myself to make sure that whenever you play any game, you have to impress. You have to be the person that, even if you guys lose, I want a situation where someone always walk up to you and say, you're a good player. And I'll be very honest with you, I got that a lot, in my playing career when I had the opportunity, So I
That's
think
good.
it's very important, yeah, that you grow your mental strength.
Talking about, let's not forget, we're talking about why it's important to be involved in sports, especially for kids. Yeah, and we talk about kids. There's something that is related. That's grassroots sports. And thank God we have someone here, the chief himself, Mr. Fairplay, who was involved. He actually went there. He was on ground, and I think Handy, you played a key role too. And we as Soft Sport as a team, we help in. We're one of the sponsors of that event, a grassroots competition, and I think it was called Love and Sports, right? That happened in Abuja, a place called Nyanya in Abuja, yeah, in Nigeria, and it was for football specifically, grassroots football. And you were there, Mr. Fairplay. You covered the event. I'll try to put in some of the pictures and maybe videos from the event.
Yeah, I was there. I was privileged to be there to first of all, before any other thing, enjoy the event in itself. It was a very beautiful event. Kudos to Nani for putting this together. It's a yearly event, an annual event. The previous event was held in a different venue, but because of the growth of the event, we had the event this time around held in the police barracks, a bigger space than where the previous event was held, and the whole place was packed. It was love,
Mm,
it was sport, it was entertainment being put together, and it was really, really enjoyable. We have youths from all walks of life. This is what sport is all about. There was no issue of ethnicity. I'm from the north, I'm from the south, east, and west. Everyone came together, and we had a wonderful time. 8 teams competing against themselves. We were able to get the winners of the tournament, the runners up, and then the team that came third. Beautiful event. Like you said, Softsport were part of it, and our own hand here was sponsor of the goalkeeper of the tournament. And I mean, he was an outstanding goalkeeper in the tournament. This is what youth sports is all about. A young aspiring goalkeeper. I had an interview, I had a chat with him, and he told me about his dream, some of the goalkeepers that inspired him, where he would like to be, and where he is. This is a young man that in future we might see him in places, and I won't be surprised because I think more than enough he showed what he's all about. In the past, a young goalkeeper, it's all about reflexes, save, kick the ball. But this young man had more than that. He could use
mm,
his feet very, very well, saves upon saves, could save penalty, could command his box, and all of that. And then I saw midfielders who could do a good job defending, breaking lines with their passes, creating chances, controlling game, wingers that can dribble, center backs that can hold their own, strikers. So it was such a beautiful event. We had people left their other activities, to come because this is what sport is all about, to come and enjoy this event and come participate in this event. We had artists, entertaining us. We had other sporting activities, side sporting activities like chess, drafts, and all that going on. It happened on the 14th of February,
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. This is a day where sometimes a
people
whole
are
lot of youths are,
mischievous.
The hotels are
you
booming.
understand, doing,
Yes.
you understand,
Yeah.
doing a whole lot of things, some of the kind of things that society generally does not want, does not like, but they were fully engaged. So this is what sport can do to our society. This is what grassroots sport can do to our society. Grassroots sport can
What can
take
break
people from the
relationships?
street, can take people from other social vices, engaging them and making them have something important, for life. So we're using this opportunity. I'm not marketing for the organizer, but even if I'm doing, it's not a crime because I actually enjoy the event. But I'm using this opportunity, to call out corporate organization, individuals, even government, invest more in grassroots sport. It's actually it's amazing, and I had a wonderful time. A whole full day was invested in that activity, and I wasn't tired because
Yeah, like I
I had
said,
fun being
I
there.
remember you left in the morning and you came back like God knows almost 12 midnight. Are you sure you didn't do another sporting activity after that?
I
Another
had the opportunity to
activity.
interact,
Yeah.
but it was all about sport. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's nice. Like you said. Of course, we've got to put it out there. There's nothing. If you've got any grassroots competition, as long as it involves sport, you can just hit us up. Just contact us if you want us to support in any way. We'll be there. And if you really have an idea and you haven't executed it yet, you can just share the idea with us and then we'll see where we can come in. All we are after is using sports as a tool to help society because we know how important it is. We've given our personal experiences in sport. He used to play football. They used to call him the Abuja Van Persie. He was good at football, I think. I remember, yeah. I think he scored one goal in 100 games.
Yeah,
But
I think like let me just chip you very briefly. In my own case, most of my challenges were more about my mom, hey, school, leave
your
this
mom
sport
stopped
and
you
all
from
of
playing
that.
football.
But yeah, she
exactly.
did to some
Yes.
extent. But I think it got to a point where she got tired, because I was this kid that after school, while everybody is going back home, I am somewhere around the field still playing football. And I can understand that because where my school was, it's a bit dangerous. You have to cross the express. And as a mother, when you see other kids coming back and your child is not back, you have to be worried. So I had situations where my mom will have a very long cane on her back, coming to the school where I was playing football and just stand by the gate waiting for me, like,
Observing.
Oga, go home now. She will sound so nice, like everything is okay. And then as soon as I see her, hey, final whistle, pack up my bags, everything, and we're going back home from nowhere. You will just feel something coming out of her back. And
Pew!
so I had this severe beating a whole lot of time from her. But it got to a point where she got tired because there was one day we were at home and my primary school had a tournament, a governors cup tournament, and they wanted me to play, and I said no, I can't play because my mom will allow me to travel out of town. They came to the house, to talk to me and to talk to my mom. So my mom was like, so you have played to a level where they want you to represent your school, traveling to different areas. I beg you, I don't have any option than to allow you do what you want to do. So yeah, it got to a point where she had to like, okay, just do what you want. Unfortunately for me, injuries didn't allow me go further. Otherwise, who is Yamada we're talking about? Just let's not even go
That's
there.
why. That's why you didn't make it. Your pride. Your pride. Eh? Instead of Arsenal of England, you end up in Arsenal in Argentina. But yeah, jokes aside, it's very interesting, exciting to talk about sport, and we really want to get involved. So if you've got any competition, let us know. We can sponsor in any way, any support in any way. Okay, and that's
Yeah, just
just
to
that's the
chip in,
beauty.
like one of the main reasons why I actually was, was inclined to support and sponsor the best goalkeeper of that tournament, the Love and Sport, is because as a goalkeeper growing up, I saw how, like I was ignored most of the time. I think if it wasn't for the primary five, incident I told you guys that I was the best player after I made a couple of saves, I don't think there's any other tournament that I've been to that have actually been recognized, with a trophy saying, okay, he's been the best player or the best goalkeeper. It's always about the outfield players, getting these accolades. And most of the times, I get I get praises from the opposite coaches, I get praises from the opponents, the players. And when I look at it, I'll be like, hey, that means I actually did have a good game. But there's no individual accolade that always goes to show that, oh, this goalkeeper has been the best player. So that's why I was inclined, to support goalkeepers, because goalkeepers are really not they're not really talked about enough. And just to add
Yeah.
this, there's this Nigerian goalkeeper right now in the Nigerian under 20 team, Ebenezer Hakod, right, if I'm not mistaken. He's just 15 years of age, and he came in through the Sporting Lagos Academy, and he has kept three clean sheets so far, and Nigeria under 20 is at the semi-finals of the AFCON. So when you look at a goalkeeper like that, he needs to be put out there. They need to sing him praises, because he has been doing exceptional. First of all, when you look at it as with Sporting Lagos Academy being one of the best academies that we have in Lagos so far. And recently they just went to Sweden and they won the Gotia Puma Trophy.
Hmm.
When you look at situations like this and you can see a 15-year-old goalkeeper standing out amongst his peers and even being able to represent his country at the under 20 level, I think you might say that this guy has an exceptional talent, but just because we don't have enough journalists pushing our players or observing these, grassroots players, they're not being talked about enough. So a lot of times they're being overlooked, and their careers might end up being like ours, and fair plays careers that we did not get the opportunity to even play the game or go for a good trial. So I think they need to talk more about the grassroots gems that we have,
Well,
especially in Nigeria, because we're all from Nigeria.
well, you know
Yeah.
something. It's easy to say the journalists are not doing well. Of course, we can't force everyone to speak. But for us, we're going to do our best, and it's something we've spoken about, that it's time to inject more positivity, especially when it concerns African sports and Nigerian sports. Let's focus on the positives more than the negative, and you're very spot on that. That's what we do right here on Soft Sports. We need to promote what's ours and just make the world a better place. So yeah, corporate bodies, anyone who is in the best position to help. If you want to get involved, even the competition we talked about, love and sports. Yeah, you can get involved. Let us know, hit us up, and then we'll link you to the right channels, and you can sponsor or support the program in any way possible. I was going to ask a question: why you didn't make it as a sports person? Kind of like
Make
why?
and family too, and
Yeah.
family. Because at the point when I was done with secondary school, right, I was actually hoping that I could really push my football career at that point. But like Everson rightly said, my parents were bent on the fact that I had to, get a degree first. So even going to university, I still ended up playing the game. I also went for trials at Heartland in Owerri.
Did you?
Yeah, and yeah, I did.
That's
And
this big.
actually,
This big. You.
yeah.
Wow.
So I pushed, the thing is, when I got there, I was actually advised that I could come and just train with, the team and be maybe part of the reserve. But the truth is, I actually saw myself going places, not just being a reserve goalkeeper in the
Pride.
Nigerian league. No, it might,
Pride.
you see, like you said, it's not necessarily pride. It's trying to balance being a student and being able to convince your parents that you still want to play football, right? But you also need to be in school. So it was very, and I didn't have anybody that I could look up to say, okay, this is an example that I can follow and say this is a mentor, right? So there's really nobody that I was looking up to. So it was just me trying to see how I could balance being in school and also trying to go after my, my
Well, you've said
dreams.
you've said something, and I need to bring it back to the Interhouse Sport. When I say Interhouse Sport, I mean like it's more like a sports week in schools,
Yeah,
and it was very prominent back then in for secondary schools in Nigeria. And you also said something. You talked about the Governors Cup. Did you
yeah.
know
Yeah.
that the Governors Cup used to be so prestigious that virtually every youth used to look forward to the Governors Cup back then? It was so
Of
important
course.
playing the Governors Cup.
Yes.
And they used to pick, I think,
Yeah.
maybe in the 80s or so, most of the national team players
We got it from
participated,
competitions
from
like that.
competitions like that, And now
Exactly.
we don't even hear of things like that anymore. We don't even the sports week, the Interhouse Sport, you don't even see that anymore. We To make matters worse, if you I'm using Nigeria as a case study, obviously, because that's where I grew up. Okay, if you go to Nigeria right now, some of the private schools you see, they don't even have enough space for kids
To play
to
sports.
play
Yeah.
sports. Like,
Participate.
it's
True.
just about how you speak. You need to speak your English. You need to be fluent. You need to know your mathematics. We are not diversifying when it comes to sport. And maybe if you had that in school, from your secondary school days or your primary school days, someone would have been there to identify you and say, yo, this guy, he's got something. Let's try our best to mold him and
Exactly.
just push him, to greater height. And it would have helped. And I'm talking about sport. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not going to leave you out there. I'm talking about the esports guys. Esports is a thing. Let's not forget. When I
Yeah.
say esports,
Mm.
the gamers,
I think I might actually be
it's
creating
actually a thing
an
because,
esport account
yeah,
soon,
like yeah, that's hits
talking
me up
about that.
because
Yes, because
back in my university days, I participated in it, and it's also tough mentally. Like, I represented my department. Of course, I lost out in the semi-final to one of these, these geeky guys with four eyes. Yeah, I lost to that guy in the semi-final,
with
but
four eyes like
yeah,
mine.
exactly. But it was, I felt the pressure. It's one thing for you to be in your hostel and you're playing the game. No one is
Yeah.
there to just you're not representing anybody. You're just there for yourself. But there, I was carrying the flag of my department, and I had people cheering me on. I was like, bro, this is some pressure right now.
Yeah.
But it was good. And yeah, esports is also something. So if you find your kids who are always playing games, of course you need them to experience life under the sun and be more physical, but
Yeah.
esports is also a good thing. So esports falls under this category. And Handy, I look
So
forward
there's
to,
guess what?
yeah.
Yeah, because there's this lad I knew in Nigeria. I actually went for an esports competition, a gaming competition. And this same lad, he was very young at the time I went there. He was the champion of the previous competition that I had gone for. And when I got there, I was like, no, this boy should not be allowed to play here. I was joking about it.
Cheat
But you know
code.
what? He actually won it again. And I am not completely sure, but as at that time, as at let's say 2022, he was he was about to sign a contract to represent Salzburg in Austria for
Wow.
their yeah. So that's how big, he got. So when we talk about esports, it's actually something like when I look back and I say, okay, I cannot have a football career at this point, but like you rightfully said, I can actually have an esporting career because I still know I'm very good at it. When I play, EA with my friends online, I actually trash a lot of people. I'm really good at it, even my ultimate team on EA. So that's why, like I said, I've been considering it, and soon we will be hearing from that space. Yes.
I can't remember how I beat you that time with Man City and
Actually, right,
Aguero
as
scoring.
for me, I'm currently participating. I'm participating in Ludo competition. It's an online Ludo competition. It's like a league format
Wow. Wow.
involving 24 teams. 24 teams, and I've played three games already. Um, the reason I've not won any of those three games is because I feel like those other guys are using voodoo.
Come on, man. Where is that
Because
excuse coming from?
it's not possible. It's not possible that I'll be struggling to get a six to get my seed out of the house while
And
you
people
all
are
have
getting double
four seeds
six.
out running around. It's not normal. It's not luck. It's not normal. It's not about how professional you are, how good you are.
You know
It's
what?
clearly voodoo.
Call
And I'm
me.
having another
Call me
game
after the
on Saturday.
podcast.
And I'm assuring you that I'll come back here and tell you the result of my next day. But for the first three games so far, um, yeah. Let's not go there. I don't
But
want to
that's
tell you
very
what
interesting,
what has happened. But
That's very interesting to hear.
yeah,
Talking about having a Ludo competition. I've never actually heard that, but that's super, super good. We've been seeing what sorry, what's his name? Our chess master,
Tunde.
Tunde, yeah,
yeah,
has been doing. He's been breaking records and taking, placing Nigerian kids on the map, and that's been very, very vital, to exposing not just the sports aspect of using your hands like ever Sam said, like Ludo, chess, because a lot of people keep forgetting that that's also sport, because in quite like chess requires you using your mental strength a lot. Because I won't lie to you, if I'm
Yeah.
being very honest, after playing one chess game with someone that knows how to play the game too, I'm always exhausted mentally. I'm like, we need to take a break before we get to play another match. Then to see Tunde breaking the records and spending, 70 hours on the chessboard, it just shows you how vital, and strong his mental strength is.
You know something?
Yeah.
We talk about diversity in sport or diversifying in sport. When you ask a typical Nigerian, oh, what sporting activity are you involved in? Football. If not football, maybe the track and field, the tracks, maybe like 100 meters or 500 or maybe whatever. I don't know the exact figures for that. But if they are not runners, they are footballers. You
At
see,
least
you see a
basketballers
few
too
few
sometimes.
basketballers, and you
Yeah.
go to the western part of Nigeria, southwest, they are boxers. Apart from that, there is nothing. The
I don't know if
rest.
you guys remember when we went to the
And
National Stadium in
this is why
Abuja.
you
This is what
find
that's
Nigeria
that's what I was
in
gonna
an
say.
Olympic tournament coming back home with no medal, and then you
No,
find other countries going back home with hundreds of medals because of the number of sports
Sports,
they are
that
bro,
they allow
participating
bro,
their
in.
kids.
It's
bro.
Yeah.
something we really need to work. We
Let's
really need
face
to
it.
look at.
Let's face it. Even the football that we put on our head, are we that good at football?
We are, but we just have a bad structure too.
No, like
So it doesn't
We
really,
actually
it
do,
does,
but
yeah, we do,
just
but we don't have
the
a good structure.
administration.
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
You
bad
understand?
administration.
Whether the structure is there or the structure is in there, we can't say we are the best at football in Africa.
But like it still boils down to the structure, if I
No,
put
no,
it in this
no.
way.
Yeah,
For instance, when you look at a country like Morocco,
Everything has to do with the
depends on
structure.
Morocco,
what you mean. But in
Everything,
Africa,
yeah,
at least we
everything
can
has to do.
always beat our chest and say, yeah,
Let me ask.
we are
Let me
there.
let me
So
ask this
whichever
question.
team comes from Africa that
Let me
wants to
ask this
challenge us,
question.
we'll always have Nigeria.
Let me ask this question. What sport would you say Nigeria is the best at in Africa? In football, you can't say we are the best. We are not the best.
uh,
I'm not
yeah,
saying we are not good.
We are
I'm
the
I'm
best
saying,
in athletic. Short
yeah,
distance race, we are the best.
are we?
Yes, we
yeah, we
are.
have with that this
100
what's her name?
meters, relay
Yeah, she
relay,
is.
200
Yeah,
meters. In Africa,
we
we are the
actually have
best.
one of the best when it comes to
But
track and records.
we're having issues here, like I said, with the administration and some other African countries are
Structure,
catching up, here and
structure.
there. But the
For
Okay.
truth is
instance, look
that
at
we are
Morocco.
the best in this
Everything that
competition.
happens in sports that concerns sports, there is one location where everybody converges. So you as a runner or as an athlete or as a javelin thrower, you even get to interact with the football with the handball team
Okay.
because they have a complex where everybody can converge and gets which is the same when you look at England. They still have the same place where all the youth teams, they and the senior team, they all converge at the same place. So when you have we don't even have that in Nigeria. That's why it is so difficult right now for you to see a player like Victor Osimhen again that will take the leap from the under 17 to the under 20 to the
Okay.
under 23 and to the senior team.
All right. I think I understand what you mean, but for the sake of me saying earlier that we'll try and be more positive, let's try and focus on the positive. Okay. The positive. Right.
Yeah.
There's the National Sport Festival. It's still active. It's
Mm.
still, of course, a lot more can be done. We know that there's a lot of room for improvement, but thank God for the events like National Sports Festival. Okay, and there's even West African competitions like the WAFU
Yeah,
that we've
waffle.
got,
Yeah,
and there's even a West African competition too in combat sports. There's taekwondo, there's kickboxing, there's judo. They do that. I know some guys who participate in that, but do they get enough support? That's another question. But
absolutely
we as
not.
soft sports, we're going to do our best to always try and shine more light on it. And Handy, you were going to talk about a guy we met some years ago,
Yes, some years ago.
2018 or so. We met him at the
Yeah,
National
so
Sports Stadium, Package
National
B.
Stadium. Yeah,
Mr. Fairplay, you were there. Those I think it was one of
those
the
boys,
Fulani
those kids
guys
were Fulani kids that
playing
were
tennis.
playing long tennis. Those boys,
Yeah,
all they
yeah, yeah,
needed
yeah.
were
I
grooming.
remember this.
They were exceptional talent. That boy was like 11, and the way he could pick up shots. He was playing against kids, if you remember, that were like 16, 17. So when you look at a
Yes,
talent
yes.
like that, and I'm sorry, I don't know his whereabouts right now, but I am almost certain that he's not a professional tennis player.
Yeah. How many professional tennis player can you name
That,
from
that,
Nigeria?
that's the problem. That's the problem. So the talent itself is not always the biggest issue. It's
Lacking.
harnessing them,
Yeah, it's harnessing the
developing
talent.
them, giving them exposure. And this is why we're begging once again, if that's what we need to do, for the people in charge, or the government or other organizations, please take your time, organize more grassroots sporting activities for these children to develop. Like Andy talked about the under 20 goalkeeper. The tournaments they've all participated in, like the one in this Sweden or so, the
Yeah,
exposure
the
can
exposure
help. It's
itself.
not just about talent. The exposure in itself, can improve you, can help you understand what it means to compete at a high level, how to manage certain issues. There are a lot of talent like that, but that exposure is not there, and there's just almost nothing they can do to move to the next level of their career.
Well, there's a lot of problems, but we'll try to look at where we can get solutions from. And in my head, I think one of the ways to get a solution is you start from the grassroots, like we've said. But
Yeah,
institutions like schools, of course, primary schools, you try to have enough sporting activities.
Activities,
Even
exactly.
religious, I think there are some religious institutions who also try their
Yeah,
best to do this. I mean, we saw Mountain of Fire set up a football club, even if it's non-existent right now after they got relegated. But we
yeah,
want to
but
see we
they're
want to
they're
see more
still
of that
there.
because they've got some of them have got the facilities financially or maybe in terms of infrastructure to help some of these guys. So we need to see more of this because sport is really underrated,
Yeah,
especially to the growth of a country. If you're
it,
in
all
2009, do you
right.
remember Nigeria hosted the
all
under
African.
under
Oh,
17
okay.
World
The
Cup?
under 17 World Cup.
Go
Yeah, the one
back,
Toni
go
Kroos
back, go
emerged,
back,
just
go back
emerged as
and
the
watch.
player of the tournament.
Go back and watch that tournament. Our facilities were okay, but
True.
today a lot of
Maintenance is one of the biggest issues
yeah,
in
let's
Nigeria.
I can't just get away from the negatives. One way or the other,
It's
they
hard.
try to come in, but
It's hard not to,
we have done it
because
before. We've done it before, and we can do it again. So let's just try our best to make sure we encourage um,
I
grassroots
think
sport.
it also takes, people at the top who are enthusiastic about sports. Because if you have a president, for instance, I'm thinking going back to our president way back, President Olusegun Obasanjo, he was probably enthusiastic about sports. That's why Nigeria also, Abuja actually hosted the All African Games. And
2003, I think. Huh?
yeah, and yeah, I think 2003 or 4, and which that was at the point where the Abuja National Stadium was built.
Belt, yeah.
We had a lot of places being constructed just because of the situation leading to the games. And it was a fantastic event. And even after that, Nigeria, like you rightly mentioned, in 2009, hosted the Under 17 World Cup. But I promise you, right now, I don't think Nigeria is in any position to even host an under 17 World Cup again because we don't even have stadiums that are in the standard that are up to the recommended standard. Uyo is the only stadium that is probably at the standard of AFCON,
And even
not
Uyo,
even FIFA.
some of the players complain that the pitch is not the best.
Exactly. And not just about the pitch. What about the press, the pre-match and post-match press conferences? Can you even compare the one Nigeria had in Rwanda to the one we had at Uyo, where they had pins to use in holding? So when you look at all of this, first of all,
We're not talking about the bus that converts players from the hotel to
okay,
the stadium. Looks like something that was bought in 1980.
Okay,
It's
okay, let's take it easy.
let's take
And
a step back from the
if we
negatives.
start talking about the negatives, we'll have like 10 hours for this
We
podcast.
take it to
Let's focus on the positive. So, like we've said, let's not forget the crux of this conversation is why sport is important, especially for kids. So, as a parent out there, I know I don't even need to tell parents to encourage their kids into sports because they know they've seen it, they've seen the
they've seen the
reward,
lights.
so they know. Then they're even trying to push their kids to do it. So it's good, but for organizations, let's try our best to promote and let's encourage because it helps a lot. Having a group of youth come together and you engage them in a sporting activity It helps the society. Some could have been criminals, but sport helped them. Like what's his name? I interviewed an MMA fighter,
Yeah.
Isaac Mulu, from
Isaac,
Cameroon,
yeah.
and he said something. He said when he was younger, he was so aggressive, he was so violent, he was even scared of not ending up in jail, and MMA was the light to him, and MMA helped him, put him in a better place in life. So it helps. And personally, I know a lot of MMA fighters who are not even up and coming. They are actually professionals. They have represented Nigeria in bigger stages, but the help is not really there. The support is not there, and the support also
The
from fans.
recognition.
I watched There's this the AKO show, the African Knockout show, and I think the last fight night. There's this fighter Jane Osigwe. After winning, she said something. She said, "If you know anybody out there who's an athlete, try to encourage that person. It's not easy." Especially out of Africa, it's not easy. So we need to encourage them, give them all the support that they need. Try our best not to kill them mentally, not to suppress them. Always try to support them, and let's see how it goes, because with sports a lot can change, a whole lot can change. Imagine us having a competition like the under 17 one that we had in 2009, having a competition like that every 2 years or every 3 years or every 4 years. It helps the economy, it helps the country, and it helps the people at large. So that's all I can say on that for now. Any final words, guys?
Oh, my only final word is that I'm going to say, please, for parents out there doing Project Mbappe, please stop it. It is not encouraging. It is not encouraging the kids. It is not good for the game and for the sport. If you are a lover of the game, by virtue, your kids will love the game. You can encourage them to get into the sport, to become professionals by helping them growing their mental strength, the physical aspect. But please stop looking at your children as your retirement plan. It might turn out to be that way, but don't focus on it that way. Just encourage them to love the game and play the sport for fun. Then when they can get an opportunity to play professionally, then they can stop because when you kill the fun aspect and you put so much pressure. I was reading a story of about Adagula. Adagula was 13 years old when he was going for a trial at Fenerbahce, and his mom categorically told him that the whole family depends on you.
Bro.
I think that's a lot of pressure to put on a 13-year-old. Do you understand? And I'm so happy for him that he has made it, that, he's representing one of the biggest, if not the biggest club right now in the world. But that amount of pressure to be placed on a 13-year-old, I don't think it's advisable at all. So that's why my point
Exactly.
and my final say is everyone doing the Project Mbappe, please stop it. Encourage your kids to play the sport, but don't push them to, become robots.
Wisdom.
Okay, I think my own final say is that parents allow the children to choose their own sports. The fact that you are a football fan doesn't mean it has to be football. We're talking about sports and not just football. These kids have passion for a particular sport. If their passion is basketball, encourage them. If it's football, encourage them. If it's athletics, encourage them. Don't force them just because you think football is the only sport where they can make a living, just like Andy is rightly saying. So just allow them choose where they are more comfortable in, and then encourage them. And with no time, you might be singing their praise.
Let's not forget, guys, breakdancing was added to the last Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably will end up representing Nigeria, but I don't think I have the moves they can go
That's
there.
good, yeah. Oh shit. Canadian Michael Jackson. Michael Johnson. Okay, thank you so much, guys. It's been a very long one, but we have to keep this one long because we needed to talk about something important. But it's the Soft Sport Podcast. My name is Sasepi, and I've had Handy and Eval, aka Mr. Fairplay. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you once more for supporting. And Eval, please next time represent, okay?
Represent. Come on,
Represent. All
brother.
right.
Come on,
And
bro. Come
guys,
on.
if you're just watching this for the first time, please make sure you subscribe. Or if you have been watching and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. Follow us on all our platforms, all our social media platforms. Like, you share, and you go in the comment about this video, about everything we talk about on Soft Sports, just contribute and be a part of the family and let us grow together. Once again, I'm Sase P, and we'll see you later. Take care.